Good morning, children. Children, I welcome you all to today's session of science. And today we will be studying a very interesting chapter which you have previously studied also, and that is control and coordination. Now, by previously studying, I refer to your previous classes, which is ninth, 8th, and 7th, and 6th. Right. There you would have studied that nervous system and some hormones and some muscles are directly responsible for the controlling and coordination of the various body organs or various parts of our body or the various activities which our body is done. In this chapter, we will take a deeper look into it, right? Because see, the need of controlling and coordinating is immense in our body because our body is a very diverse kind of creation of God, right? It has got so many organs, glands, blood vessels, muscles, tissues, cells, and all that. It's a great combination of all this. And now for it to work in a proper way so that we achieve that, what it the purpose of creation of it is, right? For example, let us take the skeletal system. Now there are 206 bones, we know, but is that all? No, there are joints also. Right. Now imagine what will happen if these 206 bones start behaving independently. Right. Suppose we have to lift any book, then our palm, the bones of our palm says that we are not going to cooperate, and the other bones, they, yeah, tibia and fibula, they say that we are going to participate. Now, what will happen? Will you be able to lift the book? I'm sure no. If you have to move, and femur says, okay, I'm not going to move from where I am, will you be able to walk even one step? No. So there needs to be a chain of command, there needs to be a synchronization in the activities of the various things which are connected for that purpose, which are there for that purpose. The Another good example can be the organ systems which prevail, the systems which prevail in our body. Say, for example, nervous system. Now it comprises of brain, spinal cords, and nerves endings, all four. Suppose spinal cord decides that I'm not going to transmit any message, right? Then will the messages reach, all the messages reach the point of action? I'm sure no, right? If spinal cord refuses to perform reflex action, what will happen? That suppose if our hand is on fire, then we won't be able to move it. Our hand will burn, but we cannot move it. We will be feeling pain, we will be shouting, screaming, and doing everything, but we won't be able to move our hand, right? Our hand will burn. That can be hazardous. So that is the importance of controlling the activities and coordinating them so that every system in our body achieves the objective of its creation, right? And all this we will be it is not only limited to us only, but for all the animals, and not only for the animals but also for the plants also. There has to be a synchronization, right? Suppose xylem refuses to take the water upwards, plant will die. Phloem refuses to translocate the food from leaves to downwards. Then what will happen? Food won't reach its desired locations, and the leaves will collapse due to excess cellulose there. Right. So all this heavily imply that there is a need of coordination. Now, in us, God has given us a nervous system, and it has empowered the nervous system in such a way that it's quite capable of taking care of the controlling and coordination. Now, nervous system's basic unit is a neuron, and this is the diagram of a neuron, right, children? Now, see, this neuron is comprising of lot of things in it, but basically it is divided into two major components. Now, this part is called cyton, cyton, and here it is, and the remaining portion is called axon. Now, cyton comprises of a nucleus, dendrites, and a cell body, whereas axon has neurolema, myelin sheath containing nucleus, and then nerve endings, right? And after the nerve endings, there are again dendrites, right? It is so structured that they come one after the other, but they are not touching each other. There is a small gap in between, and the juncture of one nerve ending to dendrite with a gap is called a synapse. Synapse, it is the point of transmission of the neurotransmitters, which are the chemical messengers in our body. Okay, so now what happens during reflex action? Suppose we touch a hot object. Now what happens is we immediately remove our hand. Now how was that possible? How is that possible? This is basic possible due to a reflex arc, and this reflex arc is generated or and coordinated by the nerve endings and the spinal cord, right? Because you need an immediate response. The response you need is an immediate one. Okay. Now, uh, right now, what happens is whenever there is an injury or whenever there is a stimulus there, then the dendritic tip or the nerve endings, what happens basically, these nerve endings, they are linked with the dendritic tip or the tip of the dendrites, and from nerve ending to dendrite there is a flow of neurotransmitters which carry the message upwards toward the spinal cord or towards the brain, right? And this is how an impulse of electron is created. Okay, this is how an impulse of electron is created. There is a network of neuron. Now see, there is a network of neuron in our body. Now, what happens in reflex action? Reflex is a word used very commonly when we talk about some sudden action in response to something in the environment, right? Jumping out of the way of the bus, the moment we see it, it's a reflex action. From pulling our hands back from the flame. Now, how does that happen, right? I have previously told you that it is the role play of the spinal cord, right? Spinal cord. But also there are some receptors in our body, right? There are some receptors in our body. Firstly, they receive it. The most important thing is that these receptors should be able to receive the information appropriately. Now, there are olfactory receptors in our body. What they do is they receive the smell, all the smell related messages in our body, right? And they transmit it to the associated neurons which are connected, right? Now, if the nerve that detects heat were to be connected to the nerves that move muscle in a simpler way, the process of detecting the signal or the input and responding it to, see children, I'm at this point here, I'm studying this. Okay. So that would be quicker. Such a connection is commonly called a reflex arc. Yes. This is one of the most important points here, that it's a connection between a response, stimulus, and a response which is created. Right? Brain reflex arcs are formed in the spinal cord itself, although information input also goes on to reach to the brain for further action, right? For future action and for further action. It reaches brain, but spinal cord instantly does some activity there. Okay. Now this is the reflex arc which you can see here. Now see, receptors are the site where we receive the sensation, and then it is transmitted by sensory neuron. Here see, this is the flow from here to here. This is the stimulus and then the response. Okay, so from a receptor by sensory neuron it reaches our spinal cord, and from spinal cord it comes back through the information comes back or response comes back from motor neuron onto the effector muscle, and immediately there is an reflex action. Now let us talk about human brain. It's the most complex creation by God, and our human brain is divided into three portions: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. And let us see it through its diagram. This diagram. Now see, forebrain, it comprises of cerebrum, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. Now there are hypothalamus also, there is pituitary gland also, and hindbrain consists of pons, medulla, and cerebellum. Right. Forebrain is the front portion. Now this demarcation is very very tough. Demarcation is not very complex here, because some classify medulla and cerebellum along with cerebrum to the forebrain, whereas some, because it comes at the later portion of our head, at the downer portion, so they regard it as a hindbrain. Okay, then there is a midbrain consisting of pituitary gland and hypothalamus. Right, all this entire structure is called human brain. Right, this entire structure is called human brain. Okay, now there are many functions which are controlled and coordinated by our brain. Now these functions can be of two types: voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary functions are those which we can control by our own will, whereas involuntary functions are those which we cannot control from our own will. Right, like heartbeat, it's not under our control. Respiration, it's not under our control. Functioning of kidney, we cannot control it. These are involuntary action, whereas the hand movement, it is under our control, it's called a voluntary one. Right, now there are certain tissues. A delicate organ like brain, which is so important for the variety of activities, needs to be carefully protected. Now, for that, a body is designed in such a way that our brain is inside a bony box. Inside the box, brain is contained in a fluid. Now, this bony box is called cranium, right? What is this bony box called? It is called cranium, right? And then the liquid inside it is called cerebrospinal fluid. The fluid is called CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so what happens is, and it protects the brain from mechanical shocks. Suppose we jump, there is, so it protects the brain from that. Uh, now what happens in plants also? In plants also we see plants like Mimosa pudica. If we touch it, then the leaves gets folded. So there is Mimosa pudica is chuimui, and it is highly sensitive ones. So there is an immediate response to stimulus which we find there, but there is no nervous tissue in that. Now how do the plants respond? The plants respond also due to some chemicals and maybe tropism. Now these tropism are firstly movement due to growth. Right, by growing, when the plant grows, its branches spread out in all the corners, and then there is a tendril which are formed there. And in a pea plant, you find tendrils with which it captures anything, with which it holds anything over which we put the pea plant. Now these tendrils do not move, they are sensitive to touch. When they come in contact with anything, they just encircle around it and hold it. Okay, now you can see here the plant showing geotropism or the plant showing phototropism. These two diagrams here. Phototropism is response to sunlight, and geotropism is response, right, away from, towards earth or away from earth. It can be both. The root shows positive geotropism and the shoot shows negative geotropism. Right. So there are others also. Now we come to another very important aspects: hormones in animals. So there are lots of hormones which are found inside. Hormones are chemical substances which are secreted by our body glands, Now the most important one gland being pituitary gland, and most important hormone is adrenaline, which is secreted by our adrenal gland. Now adrenaline is also called as an emergency hormone because it creates an emergency. It's released when we have to respond to anything in an emergency, right? Emergency, that is high blood pressure or heartbeat. Due to adrenaline it beats faster. See, it's mentioned here, the heart beats faster, than more oxygen supply is needed and all that, right? So these are all. Now this structure here tells us how many glands are there. You can see pineal, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, parathyroid, thyroid gland, thalamus, pancreas, adrenal gland, and ovary. They all have their own secretions, right? They all have their own secretions, which we will be studying later on in different chapters. Now see here, there is a chart here. Growth hormone, which gland it takes, pituitary gland, and it stimulates growth. Now insulin, it stimulates blood sugar. Testosterone, right? It is the reproductive hormone, sex hormone basically. Adrenaline, adrenal gland, we all know. So this is a small synopsis of the gland. So I stop here. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in making it. And until we meet again, it's a goodbye.